News Talk WSIC and Purple Heart Homes present Putting the Pieces Back Together, a forum for veterans and the community to connect. Here are your hosts, veterans John Galena and Brad Borders.
Good morning and welcome to Putting the Pieces Back Together. I'm John Galena.
Hey, I'm Brad Borders. Good morning.
And we are happy to be here with you this morning. We've got our first guest in studio. We'll introduce him here in a few minutes. It's going to be an exciting show this morning. But as we get started, I'd like to just take an opportunity to thank our sponsors that have signed on.
That's awesome.
That's right.
Somebody actually sponsored this show?
After the first show, we didn't run everybody off, Brad.
That's amazing.
That's pretty good.
Sponsors.
So we got Cook's Headers, which I got to say I really enjoy their headers on my 67 Dart.
So you might have to. What is a header, John?
Oh, a header is that thing that makes the car really loud and lots of racket that drives the police officers crazy.
Doesn't Cook's Headers? Don't they do some stuff for NASCAR too?
They do. They have production headers and they make awesome. All the Truck Series headers and really great company, veteran friendly and then in addition to that, Lake Mountain Coffee has signed on for us.
All jacked up on Lake Mountain Coffee this morning.
I've had a little extra coffee this morning. I'm trying to be pepped up a little bit.
That's good. I'm glad.
Yeah,
I'm
got
glad.
all kinds of great coffee over there, and they even do some draft beer if you go by in the afternoon. It's not all about coffee.
You can buy beer. Actually, you can buy beer there early in the morning if you want to. And I don't recommend that, but I'm just saying.
I did not know that.
Yeah, you can get a beer first thing in the morning.
That's fantastic.
Right.
And we also have a really special sponsor that signed on, and today's a special day for them, as every Thursday over at Welcome Home Veterans, Richard's Coffee Shop.
Oh, man, what a great place.
So many veterans gather together there, and it's, as they call it, a living museum. It's really a special place in my heart, and one of the first stops I made coming home from Iraq. And so we're thankful for all those sponsors, and if you get an opportunity, check them out. You can see them online, of course.
That we might be able to be on the air next week now. So I was thinking maybe if we don't get any sponsors, we're going to have a really short run.
Well, let's hope not. Let's hope not.
Awesome.
So Brad, we got some interesting stuff going on right now. Why don't you tell us a little bit about our this Army-Navy challenge?
Yeah, so there's this little thing that happens the second weekend in December every year called the Army-Navy game, right, where the United States Military Academy and the Naval Academy get together and fight it out on the football field rather than on the battlefield. It's a sibling rivalry, and so it's a big deal, if you're in the Navy or you're in the Army or in the Marine Corps, you're Navy, if you're Air Force. I don't know what you are if you're Air Force. I guess you got to be
Army.
Used to be in the
Air
Army,
Corps.
so and then the Coast Guard, they kind of funnel in, even though they're with Homeland Defense now. But anyhow, everybody fusses at each other. There's videos made about it. There's memes. But so what we did this year is we did an Army-Navy fitness challenge where we're pitting Army versus Navy in a total number of hours people can work out in a week. It started last Saturday and it runs just right up until kickoff on this Saturday. And as of this morning, Army is whooping Navy badly by about 9 or 10 hours. So.
I got to tell everybody, I never knew that a chaplain could get aggressive, but as a
aggressive
competitive person in sports and physical activities,
very competitive.
The major came out in you yesterday. I was a little scared.
I know, and I was very angry about it earlier in the week because Navy was beating us by about 11 or 12 hours, and I just chastised some people about their lack of activity.
I tell you, I've been out of the service now for almost 18 years, and I was afraid you were going to make me do push-ups yesterday.
Yeah, drop and hit the floor. Just start pushing, Galena.
I've heard that before.
So it's going to be really good. So we're having a celebration, a viewing party of the game. If anybody's interested, if you're a veteran and you want to come out and hang out with some other veterans at Southern Distilling out on Jennings Road, that'll begin about 2:30 on Saturday, and we'll watch the game there. It's a really cool facility, beautiful place, man.
Huge
and so I think
barn.
you'll really enjoy that.
Really, it's more than a barn. I mean, it doesn't stink, right? No animals in it yet.
Well, the barn's not open yet, right? They built a barn, a venue type place, but man, it's a beautiful spot. So pretty awesome.
That is really great. And I got to say too, Brad, today's just a special day in our history. As the last couple of days, I know we've all been remembering Pearl Harbor and the tragic events that happened there 80 years ago.
Yep.
And been a lot of loss here lately in the military and our military community.
Yeah.
We had Bob Dole. And,
Bob Dole's lying in state today. At the Capitol.
Yeah.
Who was shot down in World War II or blown up. He was actually blown up by an artillery shell in Italy in the latter days of World War II, and spent 2 years in the hospital, and was paralyzed.
Wow.
His arm was paralyzed the rest of his life. And the Americans for Disabilities Act, this is a little known fact, but wouldn't be what it is unless Bob Dole had put the energy behind that.
Yeah, that's right.
And my mom actually was a sorority sister of his wife, Liddy.
Oh, how
at
about
Duke
that?
University back in the 50s. So
Wow,
there you go.
that's really
my mom,
cool.
Sarah. Hi, Mom.
You know, it's interesting. You were sharing a story with me. You met a fairly famous veteran, and not that Bob Dole wasn't famous. Everybody knew who he was.
Yeah,
but,
I didn't meet him though.
An actor, right?
Yeah, well, I didn't meet an actor. I met Colonel Edward Shames, who was he passed away this week. He was the final surviving member of the folks from 506 Parachute Infantry Regiment, Easy Company from Band of Brothers that people may have seen on the HBO series. I met Edward at the Military Museum in Toccoa, Georgia back in 2005. I didn't know who he was. I just listened to this man tell stories for about 30 minutes, and it was pretty awesome.
That's really cool.
He was a very gracious,
they should have had those men in the movie, not actors portraying them. You're right.
Well, they did. They did interviews of all of the veterans in the. If you look as the show opens up, you see the actual folks that participated in what Easy Company did, and so they have sort of little interviews at the beginning of all those shows.
Yeah, and so today in military history is a famous birthday. Why don't you share a little bit about that with us?
Kirk Douglas, who starred in Spartacus, his son is Michael Douglas, right? So you may have heard of him. Kirk Douglas served in World War II in the Navy. He was an anti-submarine warfare officer, and he was discharged prematurely because he got injured. A depth charge blew up on the ship that he was working on, and put him out of the Navy. But then he went on, and there were so many actors that were on film in the 30s and 40s that fought and served their country in World War II. It was a different generation. I mean, so guys like Jimmy Stewart. Jimmy Stewart was a pilot and flew bombers over Europe. So go back, do your history, take a look at that, and that's why we do that this every week. Part of this day in American history, military history.
You know, Brad, I can't help but think about just how many folks are injured, not just in combat, but we often think of combat injuries as being related to interaction with the enemy, and that's not necessarily the case. But there's there's hundreds and thousands of people that are injured or have been injured,
accidents
that are not combat related, that are training accidents or that are just general work accidents. And I was doing some reading up before the show, and from 2010 to 2019, just in non-combat training accidents, stateside training accidents, there were 3,753 injuries. Man. And you think about that.
What was the dates on that again?
It's a dangerous job. From 2010 to 2019, 3,700.
Wow. Yeah. Okay.
And in fact, I was doing some further reading. There was 20 deaths from training accidents in 2021.
Yep.
In 2020 and 2019, both, there was 26 deaths due to training accidents.
Just had one this week. The commander of SEAL Team 8 was killed in a fast rope exercise just a few days back. And it's a huge loss. I mean, I think the guy was a great leader, and he was actually a Annapolis grad and played football for the Naval Academy as well. So they'll be playing for him on Saturday.
Think about service and taking care of those veterans. It's not just about those that have served in combat, but it's those that wear the uniform and serve day in and day out. And that's a part of what Purple Heart Homes does, is to serve all veterans from all eras, no matter where you were injured, that we're there to help support you, and so I'm really proud of that. Yeah. Well, Brad, as the clock is just ticking away, I don't want to take up any more of our time. Let's get to our guest over here and let's learn a little bit more about Kevin.
Yeah. So our guest today is Kevin Neiss, who currently serves as a police officer with the Statesville Police Department. He's on the SWAT team, and he's a great guy, good friend, great man. Glad to have you as our first guest, Kevin. Thanks for being here this morning. Also a Marine Corps veteran, two-time Afghanistan, 2 vacations to Afghanistan. And
two vacations.
In the Marine Corps, he is a devil dog from way back. So, hey, Kevin, thanks for being here this morning.
I appreciate you guys having me. It's an honor to be here.
Yeah, great. Glad to have you. Hey, give me your funniest Marine Corps story.
Oh, man.
It's got to involve crayons, right?
Yeah. Yeah, box of crayons. Most of them are probably not PG, so I'll go ahead and give you a boot camp one because I'm.
All right, boot camp stories are always good.
Those are pretty PG. So it's funny, so in the Marine Corps boot camp, you stay in these big squad bays and they've got this yellow line, and every morning you got to wake up and you're standing on this yellow line and they basically dress you by the number. So,
right.
Put on your left sock. You got 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 4, 3, 2, 1. They skip numbers all the time. So guys end up having to, you don't make the time.
Now, wait a minute. Did you say they can't count or they just skip numbers?
No, they just skip the numbers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. They'll start from 10, and then before you know it, they're at 5. And
in the Army, we only learned how to count to 4, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4.
That's why you were in E4.
Yeah, so there was one morning we were standing on line. We were getting ready, and this is probably the second or third weekend, and somebody passed gas, and the drill instructor caught wind of it.
Of course,
and
literally,
and basically he said, "Okay, start vacuuming."
Right.
And everybody looked around because nobody knew what that meant.
Right.
And basically, what he was talking about is when he said "vacuum now" is everybody, and there's probably 80 guys in the whole platoon, and everybody had to start inhaling.
Right.
Sucking in. So that was a pretty unique experience for me. Disgusting, but
yeah. I've never heard that one. I like
awesome,
that.
Yeah.
That's what I'm gonna start telling my kids. Start vacuuming.
Why did you join the Marine Corps? Yeah. What was the motivation?
So I come from a generation of Marines. My grandfather was a Marine. My father was a Marine. I knew that. Coming out of high school, I always felt like I had this desire to protect people.
Mm-hmm.
And as a matter of fact, I remember, it's a funny story from my childhood, but when 9/11 happened, I was in 6th grade.
Oh, God, I'm old.
And I remember, the teachers during that, they stopped class, and we were all watching this on TV.
Yeah.
And I remember being angry.
Mm.
And I got off the school bus that day, and I started doing sprints and push-ups.
Wow.
And things like that because I wanted to be ready to protect my house if something happened.
Right. Yeah.
So I feel like it was coming from a background of a long generation of Marines and military service, to just having that desire that God put in me to serve and protect. I feel like that's why I joined.
Yeah.
So,
what were some of the I know you spent two tours over in Afghanistan. We've had a number of conversations about your time there, but without going in too much detail. But what were some of the challenges that you faced, either while serving or just transitioning away from that?
Yeah. So. As you said, I did 2 combat deployments to Afghanistan in the infantry. I would say both deployments were very rough, and they were unique in their own ways. So my first deployment I did the insert into Marja, the initial push into Marja. And for those who don't know, Marja, at that time, there were no U.S. forces that had been in that city. So it was a complete clear hold build. We cleared the city, we held it, and then we started building it back up for the locals. So that was my first deployment, and that one was very unique, obviously, because it was my first deployment, and I had never been to combat.
Yeah, you were young too.
I was young.
Yeah,
yeah,
like
very young.
Teens, like
Yeah.
19.
Yeah, 19.
Yeah, 19 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that deployment was it was very intense. I remember our battalion commander had a big company or battalion formation, and man, it sounded so awful because he was just like, basically in his speech, he was just like, look around because most of you probably won't come home.
Yeah, wow.
And I just remember that it was like a gut-wrenching feeling,
Yeah.
of fear, but it was also like I had trained for that, for so long since I had been in. Like all I wanted to do was to go defend my country. So my second deployment was a little bit different. I was a squad leader at that time.
Mm-hmm.
So it was unique in its own way as to where I was maybe 20 now.
Yeah.
But I remember the day that we left Camp Lejeune to go on my second deployment, which was to Sangin, Afghanistan, which at that time, Sangin was known for U.S. forces taking a lot of KIA.
Mm-hmm.
And so I remember leaving that day, and, I had these guys in my squad whose parents would come up to me and they'd say, please bring my son home. Please bring my son home. And as a 20-year-old,
wow.
you
Feels
talk
the
about
weight of the world.
the weight of the world, and
Yeah.
because I had already gone to combat once.
Yeah.
So I
You
knew.
were like the old experienced guy at 20.
Yeah. Yeah.
The grizzled veteran.
But I knew
Yeah.
that there was no guarantee.
Yeah, sure.
And that weight as a 20-year-old, man, you talk about growing up fast.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It puts things into a different perspective. But yeah, I as far as challenges go, man, you talk about, the challenges that we faced over there, IEDs,
Yeah.
obviously firefights.
What about, because, when I came back, I just remember thinking, because of the short time gap of being over there and having everything go awry around you.
Right.
And then 48 hours later, you're in Walmart.
Right.
And it's just, it's just weird.
Go from
Yeah.
driving
It's
down
just,
the road,
Yeah.
dodging
right.
bombs,
It's just weird. And
looking
so,
at trash and
and so we,
wondering if it's
and we're just dealing with so many veterans that don't have that time to process what happened to them, and that contributes to post-traumatic stress.
Right.
And so what did you do to mitigate all of the experiences that you had, the tough, the loss, the stuff that 20-year-olds don't normally see,
Right.
and do? What did you do to mitigate that into your life? Because I know you now. You're like a committed husband, and serve your community, and you're like you got peace in your life. So
Right.
what's the secret, right?
Yeah. So that's the real challenge, right?
Yeah.
The real challenge is coming home.
Yeah.
And I heard somebody say one time, like, the military does a really good job at teaching you how to put the uniform on,
Yeah.
but not to take it off.
Yeah.
And so, you get out and you got, I think 6 months after I got out, I was sitting in a college classroom.
Yeah.
And you want to talk about a culture shock.
Man,
And was
no
that
kidding.
like BLET?
No, this is, no. So I started off, I went to get my 4 degree. I started off at Wingate University.
Okay.
And I realized really quick that it wasn't for me.
Mm.
I was struggling really bad.
Mm-hmm.
And so I had a buddy at the time who told me that he was going to finish up his 4-year degree at North Greenville University, which is a Christian university, and told me that it would probably be better for me to go there for the spiritual side of things.
Yeah.
So I ended up finishing, I transferred and ended up going there. But I would say for me, honestly, to answer that question, man, like, I would say the biggest factor for me was my faith.
Yeah.
Was my faith
Yeah.
in Jesus Christ. Now I realize that not everybody has that same faith.
Right.
So I think some other side things that have helped me. Obviously, I have a really good wife.
Yeah.
Like a very strong wife, who, she met me in college and she could tell you I was a recluse.
She didn't experience Kevin in the military.
No, she had no
just
idea.
Knew you
Just
as a
post-
transitioning
No, she walked in
Marine.
blind.
Yeah.
She walked in completely blind.
Yeah.
So it took a lot.
Sure, that was interesting.
Took a lot of years for her to
Yeah.
figure certain things out.
Yeah.
But I would say that when you're in the military, you have this task, you got this mission, you got this purpose.
Yeah.
And part of the reason why I feel like when you get out is, aside from being, you're apart from all your buddies and stuff like that. But you don't really have, you've got to find that purpose again.
Yeah.
You've got to find that task. I mean, that could start with getting up in the morning and making your bed.
Right. Yeah.
Something as simple as
something simple, the 25-meter target that's easy to grasp hold of. Just do the next thing.
Just start setting goals.
Yeah. Just a last question for you as we kind of wrap up here. Was there somebody, aside from your wife, and I know she's special, but just somebody in the community that reached out to you, that made an impact when you were returning home, that just helped welcome you home and made you feel welcomed?
Brad Borders.
Yeah. It's he's great at that for sure. And I asked that just knowing that, in my own experience coming home from Iraq, I, just like you, was a recluse and, kind of just hung out at the house, didn't really want to go nowhere. And I remember a veteran served during Vietnam on the Korean DMZ. David Bimbo came over to the house, and he just insisted that I go out to dinner with him, and that he wanted to thank me and for my service and spend time with me. And I think back to that now. It was such a pivotal point in knowing that I was welcomed home. And it's the simple things that people can do to say welcome home that make you feel normal, and just kind of help you feel accepted. And so well, I want to make sure we tell you again. I know we told you off air, but I want to tell you on air just how appreciative we are of your service then.
Thank you.
And your continued service now as a police officer. And certainly I do believe that God laid it on your heart to serve and protect. That's evident. And you're continuing to put your life in danger every day to help everyday citizens. So thank you for that.
Thank you.
Kevin's doing a great job here in town. Just ask the police chief. So he tells me all the time about how good Kevin's doing. So thanks, brother. Bless you. God bless you and Emily and
so Brad,
all you do.
We've got a little bit of mail call. We actually got some mail. Somebody was listening last week and actually sent us in a question. But before I get to that question, why don't you share this crazy mail call?
Yeah,
phone
we've
number
got the we're calling it the Fat Line. So the number, if you want to call, it's just a voicemail only. If you want to call and leave us a question or a story or something inspiring or something goofy and weird, it's 704-761-8FAT, right? That's because I couldn't come up with a number that made a cool word. So, but that's 704-761-8328. It just spells fat on the. And
of course, our listeners can post questions on Facebook, on Instagram, and you're welcome to email us through our website at phhusa.org, or you can just Google Purple Heart Homes.
Yeah, that's
and
good.
So our question for the week for our mail call is from Jason Schumacher, a veteran from the 25th Infantry, and his question is, have we seen changes or to believe that there is a difference in veterans that are enrolling in the VA from past generations to current generations? I had to do a little bit of research on this.
I bet you got some numbers.
But, of course, I got numbers, Brad. That's like that's my love language,
love
right?
language is numbers.
So Vietnam veterans, nearly 60-plus years after their war, there was 6.1 million Vietnam veterans, and approximately 60% of them had enrolled in the VA. After 60 years of being out of service, there were 3.4 million Vietnam veterans enrolled in the VA. And then in 2016, still almost 3 years before the end of the War on Terror, there were 1 million OIF veterans, 1,024,330 veterans, and 604,000 of those had enrolled in the VA. So I would say, Jason, that there is a difference in the rate in which people are enrolling in the VA. And so, again, thank you for that mail call. Makes us feel important just like it did back in the day when we were in the military. Kevin, I know it was the same for you. You always look forward to getting mail. We hope that our listeners will send in questions, comments, and tell stories and share them with us. Thank you again for our sponsors, Cook's Headers, Lake Mountain Coffee, and Richard's Coffee Shop. Brad, why don't you take us away and tell us about our next guest?
Next week, we have the world-famous General Chuck Swanick, former commander of the 82nd Airborne in the initial push into Iraq. And so we're super excited about having Chuck come on with us, and it's going to be a great day.
Great friend, veteran supporter through
He's
Patriot
awesome,
Military Family Foundation,
he
Speedway
can't shoot a
Children's
shotgun.
Charities.
He's terrible shooting a shotgun.
But he's got a
Horrible
great
at it.
shotgun story about his time in service in Iraq. So we look forward to hearing that and learning more when he's here. And thank you all for listening with us today, and hope you have a wonderful and blessed week.
Happy Advent.
You've been listening to Putting the Pieces Back Together with John Galena and Brad Borders. Join us again next Thursday at 8 a.m. and 6:30 p.m. for Putting the Pieces Back Together on News Talk WSIC.